The camera flickers to life, static dancing across the screen before settling into a shaky image of a teenage boy's face. His eyes are tired but determined, skin tanned from long hours under the sun. He adjusts the camera on what appears to be a makeshift tripod, then steps back and offers a hesitant smile. "Hey, so, I'm Mark. Mark Wheeler. 17 years old, corn farmer by birth, amateur filmmaker by choice, and now, I guess, professional apocalypse survivor." He gestures broadly to the wooden barn walls behind him. "Welcome to Survival Guided Cornfield Edition. Day 74 since the outbreak reached us." The camera pans around a barn that's been transformed into a fortress. Walls reinforced with metal sheets, windows boarded up with thick planks, and a complex pulley system that appears to control the heavy barn doors. I figured someone should document this, for posterity, or for whoever finds these tapes someday. Or, he looks directly at the camera, expression softening. "Well, you know why." Mark clears his throat and shifts back into his enthusiastic guide persona. "Today I'm going to show you how I've been keeping this place running. We've got electricity thanks to the solar panels Dad installed last spring. Turns out his paranoia about energy independence paid off, just not in the way he expected." The shot cuts to outside. The camera follows Mark as he walks along a series of gutters and pipes connected to large plastic containers. Rainwater collection system. Not my finest engineering work, but it gets the job done. "You always said I should have paid more attention in physics class." He laughs, then catches himself. "Anyway, the trick is to filter it properly. First through cloth to catch debris, then through charcoal and sand." The camera zooms in on a series of buckets with different filtering materials. Takes time, but unless you want to end up with dysentery in a world without hospitals, it's worth the effort. A quick cut shows Mark inside a farmhouse kitchen. The camera is positioned on a counter while he organizes canned goods, dried corn, and various packaged foods. Food inventory day. Not as dire as it could be. The advantage of living on a farm during the apocalypse is obvious. We grow our own food. The cornfields are doing well enough, though I'm nowhere near the farmer Dad was. His voice drops slightly at the mention of his father, but he quickly recovers. Plus, I've got enough canned goods to last through winter if properly rationed. He holds up a can of beans, smiling faintly. "Remember how you used to say these taste like dirt? Well, after 2 months of eating them 3 times a week, I can confirm, you were right." The shot changes again. Mark is sitting on the porch, the camera capturing both him and the vast cornfield stretching into the distance. The sun is setting, painting everything in golden light. Perimeter check is essential. Every morning and evening, I walk the entire property line. It's about 4 miles total. The infected seem to be drawn to noise and movement, so staying quiet is key. They usually come from the direction of town, which is why I've reinforced the east fence the most. But he points to a distant tree line. I've set up some noise traps there, cans on strings, basically. Low tech but effective. Gives me advance warning if anything's coming. The light fades as he speaks, his face becoming shadowed. Night's the hardest. They seem more active then, though I don't know if that's true or just my imagination making the darkness scarier. Another cut shows Mark in what appears to be his bedroom. The camera is on a desk, capturing him sitting on a twin bed with faded blue sheets. Behind him, posters of classic films and directors decorate the walls. Spielberg, Kubrick, Scorsese, they had it easy. Try making a documentary with limited battery life and no editing software. He chuckles softly. Though I guess they never had to film while keeping an eye out for The Walking Dead either. He reaches under his bed and pulls out an old shoebox. "I found more batteries in Dad's workshop. Should keep the camera running for a few more weeks if I'm careful." He pauses, then adds quietly, "I keep hoping the internet will come back someday. I've got so many videos I want to show you." The scene shifts to morning. Mark is tracking something through the camera lens, zooming in on several shambling figures at the edge of the cornfield. 3 of them today, he whispers. They're just standing there. Sometimes they do that, like they're confused or remembering something. The camera zooms closer, revealing the grotesque features of the infected. Skin mottled and gray, movements jerky and uncoordinated. They used to scare me so much. Now they're just sad. He sighs. I'm gonna lead them away from the farm. The trick is to make just enough noise to get their attention, then stay far enough ahead that they can't catch you. The footage becomes shakier as Mark moves, occasionally focusing on the ground or sky as he navigates through the corn. His breathing is heavy but controlled. I've gotten pretty good at this. He narrates between breaths. It's like a dance. You have to know their limitations. They're slow, can't climb well, and seem to forget what they're doing if you break line of sight for long enough. Later footage shows Mark back at the barn, slightly sweaty but unharmed. Mission accomplished. Led them about 2 miles west and lost them in the abandoned Peterson place. They'll probably wander around there for days. He takes a drink from a water bottle, then looks directly at the camera. You always said I was good at running away from trouble. His smile is wistful. Guess that's finally a useful skill. The scene changes to Mark in the farmhouse bathroom. He's trimming his hair with scissors, making a mess of it. The camera captures his reflection in a cracked mirror. Apocalypse fashion. He laughs. Not my best look, but who's going to see it? He pauses, eyes meeting the camera in the mirror. Besides you, I mean. The shot lingers on the bathroom counter, where 2 toothbrushes stand in a cup. One blue, one pink. Mark's hand enters the frame, almost touching the pink one before withdrawing quickly. Later, Mark is in what appears to be a teenage girl's bedroom. The camera pans across posters of bands and movies, a desk cluttered with school supplies, and a bookshelf filled with novels. A hairbrush with a few strands of long brown hair sits untouched on the dresser. Your room's exactly the same, he says softly. I come in here sometimes, just to. He doesn't finish the thought. Instead, he focuses the camera on a worn gray hoodie folded neatly on the bed. It's clearly too small for him. I was thinking about reinforcing the windows in here next. The tape helps keep the glass from shattering if something hits it, but it's not enough. He speaks rapidly, businesslike, avoiding whatever emotion the room is steering in him. The footage cuts to Mark outside, demonstrating how to check corn for disease and proper harvesting techniques. The trick is to twist, not pull, he explains, demonstrating on an ear of corn. Dad taught me that when I was 5. Said his father taught him, and his father before that. 4 generations of Wheelers have worked this land. He looks directly at the camera. He used to say that was boring, that we should leave, see the world. A sad smile crosses his face. The world came to us instead, didn't it? Night falls again. Mark sits by a small fire in a metal trash can, the camera catching the flickering light on his face. Controlled fires are okay occasionally. The smoke can attract attention, but sometimes you need the heat. Especially as it gets colder, he stares into the flames. Plus, it helps with the silence. Before all this, I never realized how loud the world was. Cars, planes, people, background noise you didn't even notice until it was gone. He looks up at the stars. The sky's amazing now, though. No light pollution. You can see everything. The camera tilts upward, capturing the brilliant spray of stars across the night sky. Remember when we used to lie in the field, and you'd make up constellations? The great spatula, the running chicken. He laughs softly. I still look for them. Morning comes again. Mark is walking the perimeter fence, camera in hand, narrating as he goes. This section needs reinforcement. The posts are starting to lean. He focuses on a portion of fence where the wire has been bent as if something pushed against it. Had some visitors last night. Nothing serious, but a reminder that I can't get complacent. But as he walks, he points out various landmarks. That's where we built the fort when we were 12. And over there, that's where you fell out of the apple tree and broke your arm. Remember how you wouldn't let me call for help because you were afraid your mom would never let you climb again. He stops suddenly, listening. The camera captures only cornfields and distant trees, but Mark's tension is palpable. Something's out there, he whispers. I can feel it watching sometimes, not infected, something else. He stands motionless for several moments, then shakes his head. Probably just a deer. Or my imagination working overtime. Back in the barn, Mark demonstrates his weapons cache, a hunting rifle, a shotgun, and various makeshift weapons. Dad's guns. He taught me to shoot when I was 13, said it was a rite of passage. He handles the shotgun with practiced ease. This one's best for the infected. You don't need to be as precise, but I only use them as a last resort. Noise attracts more of them. He picks up a baseball bat with nails driven through it, more my style. Silent but effective. Plus, I don't have unlimited ammo. He swings it experimentally, then sets it down. Though honestly, avoidance is always the best strategy. You can't fight them all. The camera follows Mark as he checks various security measures around the farm. Tripwires, noisemakers, barricades. It's all about layers of protection. If one thing fails, you need backups. He taps on a complex arrangement of strings with metal cans attached. Early warning system. Low tech but reliable. He moves to a heavy metal door leading to the cellar. And this is the panic room. If everything else fails, this is where I go. Reinforced door, separate ventilation, supplies for at least 2 weeks. Mark pauses, looking at the camera. I've never had to use it, hope I never do, but it's there if... He trails off, then smiles forcefully. Anyway, that's the grand tour of Fort Wheeler. Safe as houses, as my mom used to say. As evening approaches, Mark sits at the kitchen table with a small calendar in front of him. The camera watches as he crosses off another day. 75 days, he says quietly. Sometimes it feels like forever, sometimes like no time at all. He runs a finger over previous marks on the calendar. I keep track for practical reasons. Seasons change, supplies need rationing, but also because days matter. Even now, he looks directly into the camera. You used to say I was obsessed with documenting everything, that I missed actually experiencing life because I was too busy filming it. A small smile touches his lips. I get it now. Some moments you want to hold on to forever. The final shot shows Mark sitting on the porch, the camera capturing his profile against the setting sun. The cornfields stretch endlessly before him, golden in the evening light. That's it for today's entry. I'll do another perimeter check before dark, then lock everything down for the night. He turns to face the camera fully. Same time tomorrow. I'll show you how I've been trying to grow tomatoes in the greenhouse. It's not going great, but you always said I needed a hobby besides filming. He reaches forward, hand hovering near the camera. Until then, stay safe. Wherever you are. His fingers brush the lens gently before the image cuts to static. The footage begins abruptly. No introduction, no preamble. Just Mark's face, closer to the camera than before, eyes bloodshot and hair unkempt. The timestamp in the corner reads, Day 11/18. I saw something in the corn today. His voice is hushed, urgent. Not infected. Something else. I don't know if... He glances over his shoulder, then back at the camera. The corn moves differently when they're out there. The infected, they push through it, leave obvious trails. This was different. Like the corn was parting. Like... He runs a hand through his hair. Like someone who knows how to move through a cornfield. He falls silent, listening to something beyond the camera's microphone range. The light has changed, indicating hours have passed, though the timestamp remains the same. I keep thinking about time, he continues suddenly. How do we measure it anymore? By sunrises? By how tall the corn grows? By how many infected I see each day? Time used to be so fixed. Now it feels fluid, stretching and compressing like taffy. The screen flickers to a new scene. Mark walks through rows of corn, camera pointed forward, capturing the endless green corridors. His breathing is the only sound. Did I ever tell you about Grandpa's story? His voice overlays the footage. He swore the cornfields were portals, thresholds between worlds. Said if you walked deep enough into the center on a full moon, you could step into the past or future. A soft, sad laugh. I used to think he was just trying to scare me from wandering off. Now I wonder. That the camera pans upward, capturing sunlight filtering through the towering cornstalks, creating patterns of light and shadow on the ground. If I could step back in time. He doesn't finish the thought. Another cut. Mark sits in the farmhouse kitchen, a half-eaten can of something in front of him. The camera is positioned farther away, capturing more of the room. The empty chairs at the table, the faded family photos on the wall. I read this philosophy book from Dad's shelf. It talked about the persistence of memory, how our past exists simultaneously with our present, how all moments coexist within us. He pushes the can away. Sometimes I feel that way, like all versions of me are happening at once. The before Mark, the after Mark, the Mark who, his voice catches, the Mark who said things differently that day. He stands abruptly, moving out of frame. The camera continues recording the empty kitchen for nearly a full minute before cutting out. New footage begins at dusk, the cornfields cast in purple and deep blue shadows. Mark is filming the edge of the field, camera focused intently on the space between two rows. "There it is again," he whispers. The image is grainy in the low light, but something does seem to move against the corn's natural pattern, a subtle shifting that doesn't match the wind's direction. "Do you see it?" He moves closer, the camera's unsteady motion betraying his quickened pace. "Hello," he calls, voice surprisingly loud after his whispers. "I know someone's there. I know you're watching me." The corn rustles more distinctly, and Mark breaks into a run, camera jolting wildly as he pushes through the stalks. "Wait. Please wait." The footage becomes increasingly chaotic. Flashes of corn, glimpses of sky, the ground rushing beneath, until Mark trips and falls. When the camera steadies again, it shows only empty rows stretching into darkness. "Why are you doing this?" Mark's voice breaks. "If you're really there, why don't you just come to me?" The scene changes. Mark is back in the barn, the camera placed on a workbench while he paces. "Maybe I'm losing my mind," he says matter-of-factly. "Isolation does that to people. I read about it. Antarctic researchers experience hallucinations after months alone." He stops pacing. "But that doesn't explain what I saw, or what I keep seeing." He sits down heavily on a stool. "Remember that night at the bonfire when we talked about ghosts? You said you didn't believe in them, but you believed in, what did you call it? Emotional imprints. The idea that powerful feelings could leave marks on places." He looks directly at the camera. "Is that what's happening? Are you leaving imprints for me to find?" A morning light streams through windows. Mark stands in a bedroom, not his own, the same girl's room seen briefly in earlier footage. This time he lingers, camera slowly panning across personal items, a collection of seashells arranged on a dresser, a wall of Polaroid photos, a small jewelry box. "Your birthday's next week," he says softly. "You'd be 18, old enough to vote." A half laugh escapes him. Not that it matters anymore, but the camera focuses on a birthday card propped on the desk. Mark's hand enters the frame, opening it to reveal childish handwriting. "To my best friend, happy 16th. Love, Mark." "I spent hours deciding whether to write love or not," he confesses, "worried you'd read too much into it. Or worse, that you wouldn't." He closes the card gently, then moves to the window, filming the cornfields beyond. "I've been thinking a lot about infinity lately. How some mathematicians say there are different sizes of infinity. Some infinities are bigger than others." His voice takes on a dreamy quality. "That's how missing you feels. A bigger kind of infinity." The footage jumps. Mark is in the cornfields again, but this time he's set up the camera on what appears to be a ladder or platform, giving an elevated view over the tops of the corn. The golden tassels stretch in every direction like a rippling sea. "Day 125, he says, though he's not in frame. "I built this observation post to get a better view, to see if I could spot." He trails off, then continues more pragmatically. "It's also good for spotting infected before they get too close." The camera remains fixed on this view for nearly a minute before Mark speaks again. "I've been having these dreams. You're in the corn, calling me. But when I follow your voice, I find only infected. Last night, in the dream, I followed anyway. I walked right up to them, and they parted like the Red Sea." His voice drops. Behind them was a door, just standing there in the middle of the field. A door to somewhere else. The image cuts abruptly to Mark sitting against the barn wall, knees pulled to his chest, camera angled down at him from a shelf or beam above. "What if death isn't the end?" he asks the empty air. "What if it's just a threshold, another state of being?" He closes his eyes. The quantum physicists talk about parallel universes, realities where different choices create different outcomes. Maybe there's one where I said what I needed to say, where I was brave enough. He opens his eyes, looking up at the camera. "Maybe there's one where you're still here, A different day. Mark walks the property line, camera capturing the fence, the distant road, the neighboring fields now overgrown. The thing about apocalypse movies is they never show the boredom, he remarks. The endless waiting. The same routines day after day. He adjusts the fence wire where it's coming loose. They don't show how the world doesn't actually end. It just continues, differently. He stops suddenly, focusing the camera on something in the distance, a single figure standing on the road leading to town. They come more frequently now, he observes, voice clinically detached. Always alone or in small groups. I think the larger hordes have moved on, following some instinct toward larger populations. The camera zooms in, revealing a shambling infected in what was once a postal worker's uniform. I wonder sometimes if they remember, if some part of them knows what they were. The footage stops, then resume with Mark sitting on the porch steps, the sunset casting long shadows. A shotgun rests casually across his lap. I've been thinking about memory, he says to the camera. Not just how we remember, but why. Science says memory serves an evolutionary purpose. It helps us learn from experience, avoid dangers, find food. He looks out at the darkening fields. But what's the purpose of remembering you? It doesn't help me survive. Quite the opposite, actually. He runs a finger along the shotgun barrel. Sometimes I think forgetting would be easier, but then I'd be like them, wouldn't I? Just existing, not really living. New day. Mark films inside the farm's small greenhouse, where withered plants droop in rows. Garden's failing, he reports flatly. Turns out I don't have your green thumb after all. He focuses on a single tomato plant, still clinging to life among the dead ones. This one's hanging on, though. Stubborn, like someone else I know. He sets the camera down, coming into frame as he tends to the plant, his movements gentle despite his rough hands. I talk to them sometimes. The plants. Probably silly, but you always said plants respond to voices. A small smile crosses his face. You sang to them, remember, that Beatles song. Here comes the sun. That for a moment he seems about to sing, but instead falls silent, continuing his work. Later footage shows Mark filming the cornfields at dusk, the camera moving in slow, methodical sweeps across the rows. There's a theory that consciousness doesn't end with death. He says, voice taking on the philosophical tone that's becoming increasingly common in his recordings. That our awareness, our essence, simply transitions to another state, like water changing from liquid to vapor. The camera continues its steady pan. Not a religious idea, not exactly. More quantum mechanics. Energy cannot be created or destroyed, only transformed. The camera stops on a particular section of corn where the stalks move slightly against the breeze. Are you transformed? He whispers. Is that why I feel you everywhere, but can't find you anywhere? The scene changes to night. Mark sits at the kitchen table, a kerosene lamp casting warm light over several open books. The camera watches from across the room. I've been reading about grief, he explains, gesturing to the books. Dad's psychology texts. They talk about stages: denial, anger, bargaining, depression, acceptance. He looks up at the camera. I think I'm stuck between bargaining and denial. Keep making deals with the universe. Just let me see her one more time. Just let me know she's okay. He closes the book in front of him. Daniel, because I'm still talking to you like you might answer. He stands, moving to the window to look out at the night. The thing is, I don't want to reach acceptance. Acceptance means finality. A morning finds Mark back at his observation post above the cornfield. This time, the camera focuses on his face as he scans the horizon. I had that dream again, he says without preamble, the door in the cornfield. But this time, it was open. His eyes continue their vigilant sweep. Beyond it was just light, and your voice calling me. He finally looks directly at the camera. You said, it's not time yet. He pushes hair from his eyes, looking suddenly younger, more vulnerable. What does that mean? Not time for what? The footage cuts to Mark walking through the corn. Hand outstretched, fingers brushing the stalks as he passes. The ancient Egyptians believed corn represented rebirth. His voice narrates over the image. The Mayans thought it was sacred, the substance from which humans were created. The camera pans upward, capturing the towering plants against the blue sky. Maybe that's why I feel you here most strongly. This place of constant death and rebirth. He emerges into a small clearing within the cornfield. Perfect circle where no plants grow. The camera slowly rotates, capturing the complete circumference of bare earth surrounded by walls of corn. This wasn't here before, Mark says, voice tinged with wonder. I know every inch of these fields, and this was not here yesterday. He moves to the center of the circle, pointing the camera down at the soil. There, barely visible, is what appears to be the outline of a door etched into the dirt. Do you see that? His voice quavers. Tell me you see that. The camera's view becomes erratic as Mark kneels, free hand reaching to touch the outline. As his fingers make contact, the image distorts briefly, static cutting across the screen before clearing again. Something's happening, he whispers. I can feel, but whatever he feels goes unspoken as a distant noise captures his attention. The low moan of infected. Mark stands quickly, camera swinging wildly before focusing on a gap in the corn, a path leading back toward the farmhouse. Through it, figures can be seen moving in the yard. No, 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 he hisses. Not now. Please, not now. The footage cuts abruptly. When it resumes, Mark is running through the corn, camera capturing chaotic glimpses of stalks whipping past. His breathing is heavy, panicked. They've never come this close in daylight. He gasps between breaths. Something's drawn them. Something's changed. He bursts from the cornfield to see 3 infected shambling across the farmyard toward the house. The camera steadies as he assesses the situation. I have to get back inside, he narrates, voice dropping to a whisper. Weapons are in the house. Need to circle around, use the back entrance. The camera follows his careful movement along the edge of the property, keeping the barn between himself and the infected. As he approaches the house, more come into view, at least 5 more approaching from the road. This isn't random, Mark mutters. Too many at once, too coordinated. He makes a dash for the back porch, camera bobbing with his movement. Just as he reaches the steps, an infected appears around the corner of the house. The camera captures its grotesque face in startling detail. Milky eyes, mottled skin, teeth bared in a primal snarl. Mark curses, changing direction at the last second to avoid it. The camera swings wildly as he sprints toward the barn instead, the heavy breathing and footfalls creating a rhythm of fear. He reaches the barn door, yanks it open, slips inside and slams it shut. The sound of a heavy bar falling into place follows. In the dim barn interior, Mark sets the camera on a shelf, the lens capturing him as he paces, running hands through his hair. Something's changed, he repeats. They've never been so aggressive, so... He looks directly at the camera, realization dawning on his face. It's the circle, the door, whatever's happening out there, they can sense it too. He moves to a small window, peering out cautiously. There's more coming, dozens now. His voice drops to a whisper. What have I done? The footage jumps ahead. The barn is darker now, evening approaching. Mark sits against the wall, knees drawn up, the camera positioned to capture his huddled form. They're still out there, he reports quietly. Surrounding the barn, surrounding the house. I'm trapped. He looks up at the camera. I keep thinking about that circle in the corn. The door? What if? He swallows hard. What if it was my one chance? My one opportunity to find you? And I ran away. He leans his head back against the wall, closing his eyes. Maybe that's what this is. A test. To see if I'm brave enough to walk through that door. To face what's on the other side. When he opens his eyes again, they're filled with a new resolve. I need to get back to that circle. The scene changes. Night has fallen fully now. Mark has the camera close to his face, whispering his plan. There's a tunnel. Dad built it during his paranoid phase. Connects the barn to the house cellar. The infected don't know about it. He shifts, revealing he's now in a dark, cramped space. I'm going to get to the house, gather supplies, weapons. Then make for the cornfield again. The footage becomes dark, illuminated only by the weak beam of a flashlight as Mark crawls through what appears to be a narrow dirt tunnel, the camera jostling with each movement. Almost there, he whispers. The light reveals a small wooden door ahead, cellar entrance. The scene cuts to Mark emerging into the house cellar, camera sweeping to reveal shelves of preserved food, tools, and emergency supplies. Step 1 complete. he murmurs. No, for weapons and a backpack. He moves cautiously up the cellar stairs, pausing at the door to listen before opening it slowly. The camera follows him into the darkened house, moonlight spilling through windows, providing the only illumination. Outside, the moans of the infected create a constant, unsettling backdrop. They're everywhere, Mark whispers, peering through a gap in the boarded windows. But they're agitated, moving in circles. Not focused on the house anymore. He moves to his father's study, retrieving a hunting rifle and ammunition from a cabinet. The camera watches as he packs a backpack methodically. Water, energy bars, first aid supplies, extra ammunition, a flashlight. As he works, he speaks to the camera in a soft, confessional tone. I'm scared, he admits. Not of them. Not even of dying, really. I'm scared of what I might find. Or worse, what I might not find. He pauses, looking directly into the lens. But I have to know. I have to try. Mark shoulders his pack and rifle, then picks up the camera. If this is my last recording, he swallows hard. If I don't make it back, just know that A crash from downstairs interrupts him. The infected have broken in. No time, he whispers urgently. I have to go. Now. The footage cuts to Mark on the roof of the farmhouse, having climbed out a second-story window. The camera pans to show the yard below, filled with wandering infected. The corn is there, he narrates, pointing to the distant field gleaming silver in the moonlight. I can make it across the roof to the oak tree, then down and into the fields before they spot me. The camera follows his precarious journey across the sloped roof, his breathing the only sound besides the distant moans. He reaches the massive oak that grows alongside the house, branches extending over the roof. Here goes nothing, he whispers, reaching for a branch. What follows is disorienting footage. Glimpses of tree branches, the ground below, Mark's hand gripping bark. Then a crack, a startled cry, and chaotic images as he falls. When the camera steadies again, Mark is on the ground, surrounded by corn stalks. Somehow, he's made it to the field, though the camera's unsteady motion suggests he's injured. Twisted my ankle, he confirms, voice tight with pain. But I'm in, away from the house, away from them. He adjusts the camera to show the corn surrounding him. Now I just need to find that circle again. The final sequence shows Mark limping through the cornfield, camera held before him like a torch illuminating the way. The stalks seem to whisper as he passes, the rustle creating an almost hypnotic rhythm. I can feel it pulling me, he says softly, like a gravity. He pushes through one final row of corn and emerges into the circle, the perfect round clearing seen earlier. In the moonlight, the outline on the ground seems to shimmer. Mark sets down the camera carefully, positioning it to capture the circle and himself as he approaches the center. He kneels beside the outline, hesitantly reaching out to touch it. If you can hear me, he says, voice breaking. I'm here. I'm ready. His fingers brush the soil, and instantly a subtle change occurs. The air within the circle seemed to shimmer, like heat waves rising from summer pavement. Do you see that? Mark asks, looking toward the camera with wide eyes. It's happening again. He places both hands flat against the outline now, and the shimmer intensifies. The camera's image begins to distort, static creeping in from the edges. I can feel you, Mark whispers, tears streaming down his face. You're so close. Just on the other side. Through the increasing static, Mark's form becomes less distinct, the edges of his body seeming to blur into the shimmering air around him. Yet his voice remains clear. I never told you, he says, the words tumbling out urgently. I never said it. I thought we had time. I thought there would be a perfect moment. His hands press harder against the ground. But there is no perfect moment, is there? Just moments. And this one's mine. The static consumes nearly half the screen now. Mark's figure a wavering silhouette against the darkness. I love you, he says simply. I've always loved you. And if you're waiting for me somewhere, anywhere, I'll find you. The image deteriorates further. Mark's form now barely visible through the electronic snow. His final words come through in fragments, I think. I understand now what the door is. It's not about death or life. It's about memory, love. The things that transcend. The screen goes completely to static, then black. When the image returns seconds later, the circle is empty. Mark is gone. Only the corn remains, whispering secrets to the night. Static crackles across the screen before resolving into a dimly lit image. The timestamp reads, Day 157, though it flickers intermittently as if the camera's internal clock is failing. Mark's face appears, gaunt and exhausted, illuminated only by what appears to be a flashlight propped nearby. I don't know if this is working anymore, he says, voice hoarse. His fingers tap the camera lens, adjusting something off screen. Battery's nearly dead. Everything's nearly dead. The camera pulls back, revealing Mark is in a small, dusty space. An attic, the sloped ceiling close above his head. A single window shows night outside, moonlight casting long shadows across makeshift bedding and scattered supplies. It's been 12 days since. He pauses, clears his throat. Since the circle. Since whatever happened there. A humorless laugh escapes him. You know what's funny? I still don't know if I imagined it all. If the door was real. If you were really there on the other side. He shifts position, wincing with pain, and the camera angle changes to show his leg stretched before him, a crude bandage wrapped around his thigh, dark stains seeping through. Got this 3 days ago. Was making a supply run to the Peterson farm. Thought everyone had cleared out of that area. He touches the bandage gently. Turns out, not everyone. One of them caught me climbing through a window, glass cut deep. I made it back, but he gestures vaguely to the attic around him. They followed, dozens of them. They've surrounded the house. Mark adjusts himself again, leaning against a wooden beam. I barricaded the stairwell. They can't climb, but they're not leaving either. It's like they know I'm here, like they're waiting. He stares directly into the camera, eyes hollow. I've been thinking about what happened at the circle, how everything shifted, how I felt you so close, close enough to touch. His voice drops to a whisper, but I couldn't cross over, or maybe I wasn't meant to. Not yet. The footage cuts out briefly, then resumes. Mark is in the same position, but the light has changed, suggesting hours have passed. The fever started yesterday, he states matter-of-factly. Infection setting in, the old-fashioned kind. Ironic, right? Surviving the zombie apocalypse only to die from a dirty cut. His attempt at a smile falters. I found some antibiotics in Dad's medicine cabinet, but he shrugs. Too little, too late, probably. He reaches for a water bottle, drinks sparingly. I keep drifting in and out, having these dreams, or visions maybe, of you, of the door, of everything that happened before. The image cuts again. When it returns, Mark is lying down, the camera positioned above him somehow. His face shines with sweat, eyes bright with fever. Emma, he says suddenly, the name falling from his lips like a revelation. Emma Taylor. He turns his head toward the camera, a certainty in his expression that wasn't there before. Your name is Emma Taylor. You lived next door your whole life. You had freckles across your nose that you hated but I thought were beautiful. You could name every constellation in the sky, even the ones you made up. His voice strengthens with each detail. You played bass guitar in a band called Voltage Drop. You wanted to study marine biology. You collected seashells even though we lived hundreds of miles from any ocean. Mark pushes himself upright, grimacing with the effort. You left on a Tuesday. Just for a few days, you said. Going to visit your grandma in Cherry Creek because she was sick. You hugged me goodbye at the end of the driveway. His voice catches. I should have told you then. I had the words right there, but I swallowed them back. Thought there would be time when you returned. He looks away from the camera toward the window. But you never came back. The outbreak hit Cherry Creek first. By the time we heard the news, the roads were closed. The phones went dead. A single tear tracks down his cheek. I never knew what happened to you. If you turned, if you're still out there somewhere, if you're... The image distorts momentarily, static washing across the screen before resolving again. Mark wipes his face with a shaking hand. But you know all this already, he says softly, because you're here with me, have been all along. Another cut in the footage. Mark has moved to sit near the small attic window, moonlight silvering his features. The camera watches from across the space. I keep thinking about our last day together, he says, voice dreamy, disconnected. It was so ordinary. We watched clouds in the field behind your house. You found one shaped like an elephant. I said it looked more like a whale. A small smile touches his lips. You gave me half your sandwich at lunch. Complained that my music taste was stuck in the 90s. He presses a hand against the window glass. It was just a day. One of 1,000 days. How could I have known it was the last? The footage jumps forward. Mark is back on his makeshift bed, the camera close to his face again. His breathing is labored, skin pale except for feverish spots of color high on his cheeks. I found your journal, he confesses abruptly. After everything fell apart, after your parents. He swallows hard. I went to your room, needed to feel close to you. The journal was under your pillow. He reaches off camera, brings a small book with a worn blue cover into frame. I know I shouldn't have read it, invasion of privacy. But his voice breaks. I was so alone. Mark opens the journal carefully, turns to a marked page. You wrote about me, about us. For the first time in many recordings, he smiles genuinely. You felt it too. All that time you were waiting for me to say something, to make a move. He reads, voice soft with wonder. Mark Wheeler is either the most oblivious boy in the world or the most cautious. 3 years of dropping hints. 3 years of finding excuses to be near him. I'm running out of time to wait. Maybe before I leave for Sherry Creek, I'll just tell him myself. Mark closes the journal gently. You never got the chance. Or maybe your courage failed too. Either way, we both waited too long. A long silence follows, broken only by Mark's increasingly labored breathing. The thing about regret, he finally continues, is that it assumes there's a right path, a perfect sequence of choices that leads to happiness. But what if there isn't? What if every path just leads to different kinds of pain, different kinds of joy? He looks directly into the camera lens. Would knowing how I felt have changed anything? Would you still have gone to Cherry Creek? Would the world still have ended? The footage cuts out again, static consuming the screen for several seconds before clearing. The timestamp now reads, Day 158. Morning light filters through the attic window. Mark sits propped against his pack, looking marginally more alert but no less ill. They're still down there, he reports, nodding toward the floor. I can hear them moving around. Constant shuffling, waiting. He drinks from the water bottle, which is nearly empty now. Not much food left. Water for maybe another day. He sets the bottle aside, looks into the camera with surprising clarity. I think I know now why I couldn't cross over at the circle, why the door wouldn't open for me. A breath, then. I wasn't ready to say goodbye. Mark runs a hand through his sweat-damp hair. That's what all this has been about, hasn't it? These recordings. This documentary of the end. Not survival tips. Not for posterity. Just me talking to you, keeping you alive the only way I knew how. His expression softens. But that's not how it works, is it? Holding on doesn't bring people back. It just keeps us from moving forward. The light shifts, clouds passing over the sun outside. Mark's face falls into shadow momentarily. I think about what happens after, he says quietly. Not in a religious sense necessarily, just what remains of us, our atoms, our energy. The scientists say energy can't be destroyed, only transformed. His fingers trace idle patterns on the dusty floor. So maybe you're transformed, maybe you're stardust now, or maybe you're corn growing in the fields we used to run through. He smiles faintly. I like that thought. That every summer, you come back. That the wind in the corn is your voice. The footage skips ahead. Night has fallen again. Mark lies on his side, the camera close to his face on the floor beside him. The flashlight beam is noticeably dimmer. I had a dream about the door again, he says, voice barely above a whisper. It was open this time, all the way open. And beyond it wasn't darkness or light or anything scary. It was just the cornfield, our cornfield on a summer day. His eyes drift closed, then open again with effort. You were there, sitting in the clearing where we used to meet, reading a book, waiting. He reaches out, fingers brushing the camera lens. I think I understand now. The door isn't to another world. It's to memory, to the moments we keep returning to, the ones that define us. The Mark's breathing has become shallow, his words spaced between careful inhales. My dad used it to say that dying is just the closing of one door and the opening of another. I thought it was religious talk. Now I'm not so sure. The camera's image flickers, battery failing. Mark seems to notice. I don't have much time left, he says. Neither of us does. His hand moves toward the camera again, but falls short, strength failing. So let me say what I should have said that Tuesday at the end of your driveway. His eyes fix on the lens with sudden intensity. Emma Taylor, I love you. I've loved you since we were 12 years old, and you showed me how to find the Big Dipper. I've loved you through algebra homework and bad haircuts and your terrible taste in movies. I loved you when you left, and I've loved you every day since the world ended. A tear slides from the corner of his eye into his hair. And there's anything after this. Any door that opens when this one closes, I'll find you there. I promise. The image deteriorates further, static eating away at the edges. Through it, Mark's voice continues, growing fainter. Do you remember that song you used to sing? The one your mom taught you? A beat of silence, then Mark begins to sing, his voice cracked and weak but determined. You are my sunshine, my only sunshine. You make me happy when skies are gray. The static consumes more of the screen, Mark's face becoming a ghost behind electronic snow. You'll never know, dear, how much I love you. The singing stops, replaced by a soft exhale. Yeah, I think the door is opening again, Emma. I can see it. Can you? The footage cuts to complete static, then resolves one final time. The attic is bathed in golden light that seems too bright, too warm for the small window admit. Mark is sitting upright, face turned toward this light, his expression one of wonder. It's the cornfield, he whispers. Just like in the dream, sun setting, the whole field is gold. His voice grows stronger, animated. And there you are, under the oak tree. You're waving. He laughs suddenly, a sound of pure joy that transforms his face. For a moment, he looks as he must have before. Young, unburdened, alive with possibility. You waited for me, he says. Not to the camera now, but to something beyond it. Beyond the attic, beyond the world itself. All this time, Mark rises to his knees, reaching forward as if to grasp an unseen hand. His final words come clear through the increasing static. I'm coming home, Emma. I'm finally coming home. The screen dissolves into static, then darkness. After a long moment of nothing, 3 lines of text appear. White against black, Mark Wheeler's body was found in the farmhouse attic 6 months later by military recovery teams. His camera contained over 40 hours of footage. Emma Taylor's remains were never located. The screen goes dark one final time, but just before it does, a flicker of movement crosses the frame. A silhouette of 2 figures walking in hand into an endless field of corn, golden in the setting sun.
It takes a lot of time to create these videos. I would really appreciate your support. All I ask for is a quick like on the video and subscribe. Thank you so much.